Matt Griffiths, my brother from across the pond. How the hell are you?
I'm good, John. Thank you for having me here. Things are going well, so happy to be here and play
along. You and I have known each other for some time, and when I decided that I was going to do this Bearded Badass podcast, I was telling the CEO of Mountaineer brand, I was like, look, I got this guy. He's a good friend of mine from across the pond, and he is definitely one we need to have on the show. So that was why I reached out to you, brother. I'm glad you could take the time to join me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, happy to.
Yeah. So now this show is all about bearded badasses and telling their stories. I know quite a bit about your background and how you got into doing what you do. But why don't you let our audience know just what it is that got you started in the beginning and motivated you to do what you do now?
Okay. My initial training, I suppose, as a coach, was in the army. I was a physical training instructor, training the elite infantry for fitness purposes and that sort of stuff. You know, boot camps and drilling people in. And I left that, and then I was into athletics all the time. I was a boxer in the army, and I got out and I was playing professional rugby. And a lot of the stuff I was doing was selfish. So I'm one of these people that likes to know how everything works, the ins and outs of everything. So when it came to rugby, I supplemented my rugby training with judo, because I figured, well, hey, they know how to take people down. That's going to be able to help the tackles and stuff. And so I started doing that. And then I started studying biomechanics. And I thought I wanted to understand the principles of how the human body worked and all these different things. And it sort of developed into that. And then as I sort of progressed and, you know, I got children came along and my time happened and a few injuries from rugby, I sort of fell into the coaching world because I was helping people. And I was in environments and I was presented with situations where I saw people doing things wrong. So I just help them, I tell them. And then it turned out I had quite a good knack for explaining things in a certain way, taking quite complex mechanisms and making them quite simple for people to understand and apply. And I sort of went with it and it grew from there. And then obviously I've been able to, from doing that, I've worked with some really big names, you know, such as people like The Rock and people like that, pushing forward. And it's just become a passion. And then it's one of those that's almost become, sometimes you have to look at yourself and go, you know, you think I might be a better coach than I am an athlete. So it's the way I like to look at things and push forward. But it's as fun doing it. So happy days, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like, and that was one of the things you know, full transparency to people that don't know how Matt and I know each other. We're both resident coaches in a huge Facebook group called the Dad Bod Transformation Group. I think they're like 63,000 members we're up to now, something like that. And the owner of the group tapped Matt and tapped me, and he decided that the group had grown to a point that we needed to have some resident coaches to help so many of these guys that were coming into the group looking for help. And that's how Matt and I initially met. And then I was doing a podcast for a while for the Dad Bod Transformation Group. And we really connected and jived when we did that podcast episode. And you and I have kind of been, you know, brothers in arms, so to speak, ever since. And the thing that has always fascinated me about you is the fact that, you know, you're kind of like me, you know, and when I say that, you're deceptive. People look at you when they think one thing. They wouldn't think that you have the knowledge in your brain that you do. You know, it's like if you were to sit there and just take 20 minutes and just spew some of the knowledge that you have, people would be like, this guy looks like, you know, to hear him talk, he should be like in a doctor's coat in a laboratory somewhere. But yet you're you, and you can relate to people. And I think that's a powerful thing, that you can actually, you know, relate to people on that level and take those complex ideas and break them down so people can understand them.
Absolutely. I follow one of Einstein's principles, and it's a very straightforward quote of his. And it was, if you can't explain a topic simply enough, you don't know it well enough. And the truth of the matter is, some people want to know in-depth information, and I'm more than happy to go into that with them, and I'm more than happy to have that sort of back and forth talking about the numbers and angles of force and gram-reactive forces and MRVs and all this sort of stuff. But at the same token, some people just don't care about that. What they care about is you being able to help them and fix them, and they might not need to know it to that level. It's the same with a car, isn't it? People know, you go in, ignition on. Some people want to know how the engine works, where it's developing the force from, where it's developing that horsepower, what gives them more, pounds per square inch actually on the road at the back wheel, as opposed to from the engine. Some people don't care; they just want to know it goes from A to B. So it's just adapting, isn't it, around those things?
Yeah, exactly. They want to know where to put the key and where to put the gas.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's people's individual.
No.
There's certain things that I do in my business. Contacting the graphic designers and stuff like that. I don't know how to do it. I know what I want, and it's like, give me that. Give me what I want, and I'll pay you for it. And that's effectively what I do with them. It's like I want the outcome, not the ins and outs. My son recently said something to me about it, and he said, "I'm not sure what it is with you, Dad." He said, "I'm not sure if you're a nerd or a geek just stuck in a jock's body." And I was like, "Yeah, it's probably the fairest sort of assumption of it, to be honest."
Yeah, I was going to say that. No, yeah, for sure. Knowing you as I do, that's a pretty accurate description.
Yeah, it's the way it is. Yeah, but you're right. I do get it. You get the sort of meathead type cast, and I don't mind it. Sometimes it's nice to hold your cards close to your chest sometimes and surprise people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's one thing that I learned early on as I started to develop my business, and that is under promise and over deliver. When people look at me, especially like in the area that I'm from, they look at me and they see a bald bearded hillbilly from West Virginia, and they're like, what does this guy know about nutrition? What does he know about exercise and losing body fat and all that stuff? And then when, it's like, first of all, I show him the transformation picture, like, hello, I did it. I walked the walk. And then I start to have discussions with them and start to explain things like how macronutrients work in the body and things like that. Yeah. They're just blown away. They're like, I would never imagine that from you just looking at you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very easy one to do, isn't it? People do it all the time, and they'll label things or they'll not expect certain things. And it's what we've sort of grown up to do as a culture. But it doesn't always necessarily fit. It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Now, let me ask you, because I know that you train a wide variety of clients. How many of them come to you with like these huge misconceptions that you basically have to disassemble and reprogram their mindset?
In terms of how they're approaching things, or in terms of me?
Mm-hmm. And in terms of how they're approaching, they come to you with a preconceived notion of what they need. It's like going to a doctor and say, hey, doctor, my foot hurts. This is what I need.
Yeah, pretty much 100% of them. It would be, I've got, I think, let me think, top of my head, I'm going to say about 45 clients on the books at the moment. Going through that, pretty much it. And it's the biggest thing in coaching. It's like you say, I took my car to the garage recently, and I suspected I knew the problem was, and it wasn't quite that, it was something else. And I thought about it then. I thought, I'm doing exactly what people do. They go, oh, I just need this. But it's not what they need. What they need is several layers deeper than that. 10 times down there, you ask the questions, dig. Then you actually find the fuel source for this sort of burning fire, this need that they have. So rather than just fanning the flames at the top, you actually take care of the fuel source.
Yep. Yeah. And it's funny. It's like, I actually put a post in the Dad Bod group today, and I simply ask a question, what do you think is your biggest obstacle when it comes to reaching your health and fitness goals? Is it nutrition? Is it exercise? Is it mindset? What is it? And believe it or not, I think right now it's sitting at about 500 and some comments, and 80% of them say that it's me. It's me. I'm what's in the way. And what that relates to is their mindset. It's the way that they have developed this developed this way of doing things and they think they're doing things right, but they're not. And they can see they're not, but I don't know whether it's they're afraid or they're just, too stubborn to
Yeah,
make that change.
it tends to be that way. We have, when we talk about mental change with people and we talk about the psychological concepts of these things, people create these internal barriers and these internal mechanisms. And a lot of it is because if we've done something that we are potentially shameful of, or if we've done something that we know, or haven't done something that we know we should have, or not done, etc., we try and justify it. And it all comes down to this accountability side of things. And then we go, let's, looking into that accountability, it's like, where do we learn to be accountable to ourselves? And the truth is we don't, because we grow up.
Yeah.
We're with our parents, we're with our teachers. We do what we're told, because if we don't get the candy, we don't get the reward, we don't get whatever, we get punished. So we get that negative. So we're accountable to somebody else. And then we go to school or college or university, or we do an apprenticeship, and then we're accountable to our lecturers and our professors and our employers.
Yep.
And then we don't get the grades if we're not accountable to them. And then we grow up and be adults, and then we go to work and we're accountable to our bosses. And if we don't do what they want, then we suffer the consequences of job loss, that kind of thing. Yep. But to ourselves, we can go, well, maybe I don't want to do that. And they go off and then, they might put on a few pounds and all that. They go, it's not too much of a consequence, not really suffering that badly. I'll do it again and again and again. And that £3 becomes, as you know, £320, £350, £400. And then, actually it is starting to become a problem. And it's because we never learn to actually there's never anyone actually there with a stick, it's carrot or stick sort of going, do it. Because if you don't, you're going to start creating a habit. And the more we allow ourselves to get away with, the more we'll keep getting away with. Further down that sinkhole we fall. And then, we found that hole so far in the end, we'll be down there with the Cheshire Cat and Alice in Wonderland, because you're out of the situation, and then you've created these bad habits because you've not been accountable to who you are and what you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you sit back and you look at, to kind of go off topic on this for a second and look at the pattern of people who are abusive. Okay. People who are abusive become abusive and continue to escalate in their abuse because of the fact that more often than not, they don't suffer consequences for their abuse. The abuser is typically in a relationship with someone who desperately wants to be in that relationship, whatever it is, whether it's a parent abusing a child or whatever. And you get into that position where it's like, okay, the abuser goes to this point and nothing happens. It's like everybody acts like nothing ever happened. Everything calms down. You go back. So the next time that abuser gets into that pattern again, they're going to take it a little further, a little further, a little further. And then the next thing you know, you've got people getting seriously hurt. And it's the same thing, exactly back to your point of what you were saying, because we don't build up an air of accountability in ourselves when it comes to taking charge of our own health, our own well-being, that we essentially abuse ourselves when you think about it, because we keep, well, I did that. I made that mistake and I got away with it. So let's see what I can get away with next. And we don't even think about it. Justification.
Justify it to ourselves. And the truth of the matter is we're not there to call out our own BS. And that is what it is. It's absolute BS. We're there the whole time. We should, I know we should. We all know, most people out there know what they should be doing. But success is based on doing what you should be doing, even when you don't want to do it. That's how you become successful at something. There's been times when I don't want to do something. I don't want to build stuff out. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not feeling great. I just want to sit there and feel sorry for myself. But I know that's just going to fall into a pattern again, as you've just said, a potential cycle of abuse. So you go, no, get on with it. Do your to-do list. Tick off your boxes. I use daily accountability checklists, for example. Get your non-negotiables done today. As long as your non-negotiables are done, then fine, you can go and chill out and do that because you've done something and achieved something for the day. But people don't do that. They sort of, I want a day of doing nothing. And you're like, well, that's a wasted day. It's a wasted day. You're not going to feel good for doing that. Whereas you have a day off work and you actually spend time doing those things that you haven't had time to do, that you've been telling yourself you haven't had time to do. and you actually
Right.
do them, you got 5 or 6 tasks done. Whether it be
Yeah.
sorting out a bookshelf, sorting out the garage, perhaps, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the sort of thing is. All of a sudden, you get every time you're in there, you're like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I did that.
Yeah,
But every time I've done it,
for
you're
sure.
walking in there thinking, I've still got to do that. And where would you rather be? You'd rather it be done. So nobody's
Yeah.
doing it for you. Get it done.
Nope. Nope. Exactly. So many people just sit back and I can't count the times I've seen posts in the group, or I've had people contact me and they're like, I just don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. And I'm like, what are you doing about it? Like a guy today, he posted in the group, he said, myself. And I said, cause I asked him, what was holding him back? And he said, myself. And I said, why are you holding yourself back? And he said, well, I think I hold myself back because I don't know what to do. Well, why don't you know what to do? Well, I don't know what to do because I've tried everything and nothing has worked. Well, no, excuse me. If you've tried everything, something would have worked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's get down to the nitty gritty. What is going on? Well, I feel like I really need to be healthy because I need to be able to support my family, and all that. And I'm like, okay, well, why do you need that? And eventually I did that several times with him. And eventually it got down to the point that he felt that he was failing as a father if he couldn't support his family in such a way that his wife didn't have to work and she could stay home and take care of the kids, because that's how he was raised. So what he was doing in essence was he was beating himself up because he wasn't at that point, and he was sabotaging everything that he was doing. And he like private messaged me after we had that little back and forth in the comments. And he's like, man, I got to tell you, he said, I have never thought about my situation in the way that you made me think about it in that 15 minutes. Yep. And he was like, thank you. And at the end of the day, us as coaches, that's what gets me. That's my reward. You know what I'm saying? Do I get paid for what I do? Yeah. But helping people like that, yeah, that's my sweet spot.
And the bottom line is, what you're helping people do is to live a better life. And living a better life, they'll probably live a longer life, a happier life. And at the end of the day, that is worth something. That is worth something. If that's not worth something, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. Now, okay, so we talked about some of the issues that you come across. Now, how much of, because, and I want to and this is to kind of let people know a little bit about what your wheelhouse is. Now, obviously, you know nutrition, biomechanics, you kind of know everything, but what is your main wheelhouse? What do you consider yourself to be the best at?
The one thing that seems to be the best for me that I've sort of worked in is body recomposition. That's where I tend to specialize. So people not necessarily looking to drop 20 or 30 pounds in so many days, things like that. More a case of it's a restructuring of their life is what I do. So effectively, I change the habits. I'm not starving people. I'm not, reducing massively the amount of food. If anything, I've had a chap come to me that's done other cut programs before, and he's on almost 1,700 calories more than he was on. And he was like, I can't believe all this food I'm eating. And he goes, my jeans aren't fitting me around the thighs, but they're loose on my waist because I'm channeling his energy into workouts and making him more powerful and athletic and stronger. And then when you do that, you feel empowered because you feel you can, lifting things, moving around isn't a problem because you have that strength and you have the energy to do it.
Right.
And then you want to live a more active lifestyle. And that's where I really specialize, restructuring those things. And it sort of broadly comes under the recomposition side of things, but I call it, it's strength, I call it. It's real strength, real applicable world strength. It doesn't mean you have to be a powerlifter or a world's strongest man, but you want to have the strength to be able to defend your family, get through daily, one trip with the groceries from the car, not doing the walk of shame and doing 2 trips on the other one. That's how we do these things. I will take all these bags.
Yes, that's right. Honey, you just go in the house. I got this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's teaching them how to do that. That's my sort of real bread and butter.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something else that I like about you too, and always have, and I've always had a, yeah, well, you know this, but I mean, I've always had a massive amount of respect for you, and one of the reasons is that you are 100% down in the nuts and bolts of it. You can take. I have literally watched you through comments in this group. I have watched you take a video that somebody has posted, dissected their form because of your background in biomechanics and whatnot, and put them on the right path with a comment, dude, with a damn comment. Now, that's power to me. You know, you're talking about true strength, and I get what you're saying as far as what you give your clients and the body recomposition and all that. But true strength is knowing where you are, where you want to be, and having the ability to get there. And that is something that you not only have for yourself, because I've watched you go through some trials and tribulations with your back and whatnot, but you impart that on everybody that you work with and everybody that you come in contact with. And I just find it truly amazing, brother.
I think it's the way to do it. And I appreciate you saying that. It's one of the sort of aspects I always use when I'm talking to people. Is one of the reasons I know what I know and how to do things, and whether it came about selfishly or not, is because I have been there. I have done it. I'm not, a fresh-faced 20-year-old PT that's got a six-pack who lives at home with his mom and dad. Doesn't have to do anything but go to the gym 4 times a day and work out. I've got responsibilities. I'm middle-aged. I'm in my 40s. I'm doing this, I'm in my 40s and I was still in the gym earlier pulling 700 pounds off the floor. I still do it. I still do it to this day. I lead by example. And then because I'm leading, effectively what I'm doing is I'm not forcing someone to come along, but I'm clearing the path and I'm shining the light going, this is the way to do it. It's like the Mandalorian, this is the way. And these guys are following me.
We need your little baby Yoda. We got it. Because I know you had the nickname of Yoda or something at one point in time, didn't you?
That's
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love it, man, for sure. But yeah, I mean, am I right? Am I just imagining that? Wasn't there somebody that was like calling you the Yoda of biomechanics or something at one point in time?
Yeah, Martyn Ford actually called it to me. He said,
"That's it."
He said I was like, the no neck Yoda. He called me.
Yeah. I just love that. We're kind of running out of time because these only typically run about 30 minutes. And okay. I just want to, first of all, I want to say, is there any other thing that we haven't touched on that you think our listeners would get some value out of? Let's go there first.
I would probably say, if there is something you really want, stop hoping for it, work for it. Mm-hmm. Go out there and do something about it, because you'll feel better for it. And even if you fall short, you've tried. You've actually tried. And that's real key.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I need to do the research and find out who actually started this quote, but it was something that kind of struck home with me when I was first starting out on my journey. And it was basically, if you don't do anything else but get up off the couch and walk around the block, you've literally lapped everybody that sat on the couch the whole time. And that's exactly to your point. It's when you think about how simple that is, but yet how powerful.
It's true. Those little steps, every little step is the journey you're taking. They always say the hardest lift is your ass off the couch. Once you've done that,
love it.
You've got going. That's the basis of it. Get up there, get started. Because somebody's going to be outworking you, reaching the goals that you wish you had. And eventually you'll be doing that accountability thing. You'll be going, they've only got this because of... No, they've probably got it because they've worked for it. That's the reality of it.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I mean, actually, one more thing on that, and then I'm going to ask you the final question. I actually was in a conversation with a doctor that specializes in metabolic conditions, and she was telling me that so many people are struggling with like neuropathy in the legs and whatnot because we live in this virtual world where everybody's sitting on their ass. and especially like people that have metabolic syndromes like type 2 diabetes and whatnot. And she said that you can literally kind of derail any kind of neuropathy in your legs if you have a day job where you're just sitting at a desk for 8, 10, 12 hours a day by literally just sitting there and rock your legs back and forth. Just that simple movement of rocking your legs back and forth keeps additional blood flow moving in the legs. So it's just that simple. It's one little step. It's one little thing that you can do that's going to make a huge difference in the long run. So, yep. Absolutely. Okay.
We're not actually designed to sit the way we do all the time. It's not a great thing. So,
nope, not at all. I've actually even got, like right now, I've got 2 pillows behind me. I've got a lumbar pillow and I have one here because I do spend a lot of time sitting in my chair, and it's like, but what that does is it keeps my back straight. It doesn't allow my back to curve into the chair.
Correct.
And just things like that help. Okay. Last question. The last question of the show. What is your favorite Mountaineer brand product? Because I know you've got a bunch of them.
I've got 2 that I'm going to have to go to for this. And I couldn't nail it down to one. The one of them, I absolutely love the beard rinse. Just little spray rinse, apple cider vinegar rinse. Just
yeah.
It feels great. I love that one. I really do. And I like the smell of it as well. The second one I've actually got sat right next to me, which is it's basically a bald head care moisturizing balm, which also doubles up, as I've recently found, as tattoo balm.
Absolutely.
So I was using it, I sometimes have a freshener on my head or on my face when I'm sat at the desk for a long time. Just makes you feel a bit more awake and a bit fresh. So I leave it in the office.
Right.
And I started putting it on a fresher tattoo as well. And it worked just as well as beeswax balm did. And I was like, there we go. Good. So those are my favorites.
Yep. I tell you, man, the essential oils in just about any of the balms that Mountaineer brand makes, it's a blend that is amazing. You can use it for so many things. It's like you can take
natural.
It's all natural. And like that Protect balm, I have actually, believe it or not, I've actually used that in my beard if I ran out of beard balm because it has some similar properties to a lot of the beard balms. And at the end of the day, when you're putting balm in your beard, it's about a little bit of control, but mainly it's about keeping your beard hair moist because you don't want it to dry out and get brittle. So, it just has so many uses. And I knew you were going to say a bald head product because I think we got you the beard products first. And then when the bald head line came out, I sent you some of them and it was like, yeah. For guys like us, man, guys like us, you got to have stuff like that.
One hair for all occasions. There we go.
We may be a lot of things. We may be smart. We may know our stuff about nutrition and exercise and all that stuff. We just happen to be follically challenged up here, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I tell people all the time, I may not be able to grow it up here very well, but I can doggone sure grow it here, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, absolutely can. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, Matt, I sure do want to thank you for being on the Bearded Badass podcast. My friend, you are literally, it was like when we were coming up with the name for the podcast, it was like your name just popped right out of my head. And I was like, yep, got to get this guy. So as always, it's always good to talk to you. If you have anything new coming up or anything, new programs that you're going to release sometime soon or whatever, and you want to come back on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come on and talk about it. I've launched a 12-week full challenge from zero to everything, basically, called the Strength Schematic, where I pretty much walk everyone through weekly lessons and tests and homework. They get the lot to take them from not really knowing anything to funnel them down into the perfect training and nutrition program for them.
That's awesome. All right. Now, where outside of, obviously, we've told them about the Dad Bod Facebook group, where else can they find you?
Easiest place is to grab me on Instagram, just under G-Force Limited. I'm on there, post on there every day.
Awesome. All right, my friend, I am going to let you run. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.